The character of J.J. Hunsaker was perceived by everyone as being based on legendary newspaper columnist Walter Winchell. At the peak of Winchell's popularity in the late 1930s, more than 50 million people, about two-thirds of American adults, read his syndicated daily column and listened to his regular Sunday night radio broadcasts. Winchell relished the power that came with that position, and he used it. By his own account, he was ruthless when it came to getting vengeance on people he disliked or whom he felt had crossed him. In his autobiography, Winchell said, "I'm not a fighter, I'm a waiter. I wait until I can catch an ingrate with his fly open, and then I take a picture of it." Well, writer Ernest Lehman, fearing retribution from the most powerful man in American media, went to great lengths to stress that J.J. was a composite of people he'd worked with as a young PR agent in New York. By the time Sweet Smell of Success came out, Walter Winchell's influence was waning. His support of Senator Joe McCarthy's anti-communist grandstanding backfired when public opinion turned against McCarthy in 1954. By 1959, Winchell was a parody of himself, selling his famous rat-a-tat delivery as the narrator of the Untouchables TV series. His only public references to Sweet Smell of Success were to note with some glee that it was a dismal failure at the box office. And no mistake, it was a bomb. After a preview screening, one viewer said, "Don't change a thing, just burn all the prints." This was not the Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis the public wanted to see, and Lancaster quickly wrote the film off as a failure and moved on. In 1959, Lancaster produced the Revolutionary War drama The Devil's Disciple, and true to his word, he hired Sandy McKendrick to direct it. But after 1 week, Lancaster fired McKendrick and replaced him with Englishman Guy Hamilton. In 1961, McKendrick was fired off The Guns of Navarone, and J. Lee Thompson, another Englishman, took over. Producers reportedly were distressed by McKendrick's perfectionism, and his indignities continued. McKendrick's 1963 feature, Sammy Going South, which he made in Africa with his old Ealing cohort, Michael Balkin, was a 2-hour saga chopped to 88 minutes for U.S. release, given a totally different musical score and retitled A Boy 10 Feet Tall. He'd reunite with Tony Curtis in 1967 for Don't Make Waves, a weird adult beach party movie that featured Sharon Tate in one of her first movie roles. But that would be McKendrick's last film. He retired from the movie business to become Dean of the Film Department at the California School of the Arts, where he taught another generation of students about the triumphs and tribulations of filmmaking. And that's what he was still doing when he died in 1993. Sometimes lost in this movie's nest of vipers are co-stars Susan Harrison and Martin Milner. He was only 25 when he made it, but Milner had been making movies for more than 10 years. Harrison was only 19, a fledgling stage actress making her movie debut. These two play it so straight and naive, they come off mostly as chum for the sharks, at least until Susie grows a spine at the end. In an interview I did with Harrison in 2007, she recalled Sandy McKendrick's great resolve holding the production together, and that in her estimation, Tony Curtis stole the picture. Curtis recalled the experience as especially hard on Harrison. Working with those guys was tough, he said. We all came in with both barrels loaded, and we all came in to fight. Susan had no experience at all, and we drove her down into nowhere. Marty Milner tried to look relaxed, sitting in with some of the hottest jazz players in America. The Chico Hamilton Quintet was a savvy choice for this film, not only because they were emblematic of the West Coast sound that was just emerging, but because they were clean. The producers screened them for months to make sure they weren't users. They didn't want Winchell's boys to discover anything that could be used against the film. The quintet consisted of Chico Hamilton on drums, Paul Horn on reeds and flute, Fred Katz cello, Carson Smith bass, and John Pisano on guitar. He's actually handling the fretwork out of frame when Milner's playing. Now, Chico Hamilton was the only member of the cast who refused to deliver Clifford Odets' dialogue. He told McKendrick that no self-respecting jazz man would say, "Throw a rope around her and hold her here while I go get him." So McKendrick let Hamilton do it his way.
Hey, Paul, call this chick here when I go get Steve, right?
Hamilton and Fred Katz actually composed a complete score for the film, but in the end, Elmer Bernstein was brought in to augment it with something brassier and more propulsive, like his score for The Man with the Golden Arm. Well, next week, we leave the mean streets of Manhattan for the glamorous and completely artificial sound stages of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and the 1942 crime drama Johnny Eager. Now, some may argue that's not noir, and I argue back, it stars 20-year-old Lana Turner at her most glamorous. Robert Taylor is a racketeer masquerading as a cab driver who wants to give Lana the ride of her life. Who could say no? See you back here next week. I love this dirty town.